Okay, so in this training, we are going to show you how you can follow up with your leads in bulk using client CRM. All right, so as you know, you've now put your leads and clients and prospects into different stages, right? As I said, if you're a high-level user, you could see our next training where we will show you how these labels will be automatically created just by syncing your pipelines across with APIs, right? So whether you are syncing this directly with high level or whether you are creating a label directly from the system here, from the software here, you could obviously create a label. Now, either way, you now have your leads or prospects or clients into different stages, right? So let's say, for example, I have 50 people that I have contacted, but I want to follow up with them, right? Now you're sitting there thinking, look, there must be a better way than opening up 50 conversations, sending them a message, and then tracking everything. That is going to take you a hell of a long time, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to bulk follow up with these people, right? So let's say, for example, I click, so let's say, for example, contacted. So firstly, if I click on client CRM, I can see how many people, let's say, for example, look, I've got 6 people. All right. So now rather than me sending out to everyone, right? And you can see we've got follow up, we've got 386 follow ups, etc. So let's say, for example, we want to send everyone, let's say, for example, the follow up, right? So, follow up number 2, I want to send everyone that is in follow up 2, right? For example, I just click on broadcast and I want to just click on create broadcast. And what I can do now is I can select specific labels, right? So, specific labels. And in this case, look, anyone who I contacted, or as I said, anyone who I need to follow up. Let's say, for example, I click contacted. Now, I can then sort by gender. I can then sort by interval. So very important. On Facebook, you don't want to be doing things too fast, too quickly, too many. So we have these safeguards in place called intervals. So basically, this is how many minutes apart you want to send out a follow-up message in between each of these leads or clients or prospects, right? So because this is automation, you don't even have to worry about it. For me personally, I would do it anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. So you can set it, let's say, for example, 5 minutes. So that means over an hour, you'll be able to send out 12. Over over 24 hours, you'll be able to send out around about, you know, what's that? 12 times 24, uh, which is 288, right? So if my maths is correct, but you don't want to be sending too many a day, right? Personally, I probably wouldn't send anything more than 100 to 150. Um, probably a maximum of absolute maximum of around about 200, but I wouldn't do any more than that, right? But that also comes down to, look, if you want to be sending out more messages, you can see right down below, sending too many messages too fast can possibly trigger account restrictions. So patient is the key. So if you are sending out more messages, consider slower sending intervals, right? And make sure I have plenty of variations in your message segments and message groups. Now, we will get into message segment and message group shortly. But essentially, if you want to be sending out more messages, make sure the interval is longer, right? So if you want to be sending out, upwards of 150, 200 messages, um, have it at least 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. And as I said, because it's automation, you don't even have to worry about it. Once you put them into labels, you don't need to worry about it, right? Now, so this is where you can set up messages. Now, as I said, we'll get into message segments, message groups. Now, but once you set up message groups, you can say, look, I want to send out this message broadcast and I want to schedule this right now. So right now, the system will take about 2 minutes to start sending. Or what you can do is you can then schedule this for later, right? You can schedule this for later. Let's say I want to send this out on the 25th. I want to send this out, at 12:57 p.m. You could limit the number of people if you want. And then what you can do is then you can change that label. So, for example, I follow up with, let's say 50 people I contacted, right? Um, Now, what I want to do with the system automatically is I want to change this stage automatically once I have follow up with them, right? So once it's sent out, then I want to change the stage into follow up, or maybe I want to change the stage into link sent, right? Or follow up, or whatever you have in your stage names, right? So as I said, all these labels can be customized. But what you want is you want a system to automatically follow up. So now you have not only put your leads, clients, prospects into different stages, but you also have a way to automate that follow up process, right? Because let's face it, following up that's where the money is. However, it is time consuming, right? It is so time consuming. So you want to automate this process, but you want to have some safeguards in place, have the maximum time interval to be sending out, as well as having as many variations of messages as you can. And once you select the labels for actions, you can then automatically change that label into another different stage, right? Okay, so um, message segments and message groups. All right, so let's understand message segments and message groups. Okay, so for example, message segments. So think of message, an outreach message broken down into few different pieces, right? So, so you could. There's two ways of doing this. You could divide them into three different segments. So let me just illustrate this. Segments. Let me just illustrate this with a diagram. All right. So what you want is you want to create as many variations as possible, right? Because when you are sending this out manually, what you are most likely doing is you're just sending out, let's say, one message, and then you're sending out to, you know, 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, right? Now, what happens with that is, when you're sending the same messages over and over and over again, Facebook thinks that is spam, right? Because you are literally just spamming people with the same message over and over and over again. Now, couple that with, most likely when you're sending this out to everyone who you're following up with, um, couple that with, you're probably just sending out a message every 30 seconds, right? So over 5 minutes, you're probably sending out like 10 messages, maybe 20 messages. And think of that as, every message is almost the same, is pretty much the same. That is a sure way of you getting banned by Facebook, right? So we'll put these safeguards in place called message segments. So think of this as a message broken down into, three or four different pieces, right? Three or four different variations. So there's two ways of doing this. Now, the easiest way is just break down. So this is segment, right? So this is segment. Easiest way is just break this down into your message number one, your message number two, and your message number three, right? Your entire message, 1, 2, 3, right? So now you have three variations. And then what we're going to do is then we are going to then group them together. So group them together. And then this will be 1, 2, 3. So when you automate the system, and this is called groups, right? This is called group. So when the system automatically sends out these messages, it will automatically pick number one. The next time it will probably pick number three. And then the next time you'll probably pick number two, right? So this automates that process. So you can see as an example right here. So for example, I sent one for Halloween. I sent one for Halloween. All right. So right here, I have actually I've only got two variations here, right? So you could obviously decide how many variations you want, and that really depends on how many you are sending out, right? So for example, I've got two messages here. We just released a spooky treat deal to resell our software this Halloween, and this will end midnight at 31st of October. Want a treat before it turns into a trick, right? And then what you want for the variation, you just want a different way of saying the same message, right? So a slightly different way of saying exactly the same message, but it's slightly different, right? Obviously, the same message and the same goal. Then you just want to create as many variations as you want. So, as I said, the more variations you have, the better it is for the system, right? Now, then once you create the segments, then you want to group this together. And when you are grouping this together, all you are doing is you are then inserting the message segment that you have just created, which is here, right? And that's all you need to do, right? So just this segment and make sure you save this message group. All right. So that's the first way of doing this follow up messages. Now, the second way, excuse my drawing, the second way is to actually break this down even further, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to, so this is one message. Actually, we're going to break the down message into, again, into three different segments, right? We're going to break it down into three different segments. And then within each segment, then we are going to have, then we're going to have three different variations, right? Three different variations and then three different variations. All right, so variation 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right. Okay. And then, so we call this intro, this is body, and this is call to action, right? So you can see right here, for example, did a contest, and this is the intro, right? So intro, we simply just had hi, first name, and you can see this will automatically merge. This is a merge field, right? So as soon as you click on first name, it will replace by the name that it's going out with, right? Make sure you click save. So this is how we are doing these segments. So intro is as simple as hi, first name, hi, hey, what's up. Now your body, so your body could be what your purpose is, right? Word is out. Hey, new concert just started. Automatically follow up with advanced scheduling. Da 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 da. Did you see it already? All right, okay. And then you want a call to action. So you can see we've got another three variations here. And then you want another call to action that just says, "Hey, I just sent you an email," or click here to join the group, right? So whatever your call to action is, but you want to have another three variations. Now, so when you are doing this, and then you are grouping this together. So, for example, new contest right here. What we're then doing is we are then picking those three segments, right? So you can see intro, body, outro. So this is exactly what we're doing. We are then grouping this together, right, as a group. Okay, so when we group this together, the system will automatically pick, let's say, for example, the third variation from the first segment, and couple with the second variation from the second segment, and then maybe the first variation from the third segment, right? So you can see the way to set this up in groups. So we've set the segments up, and now we are setting up message group. So all we are really doing is we are coming here, we are selecting, say, click plus, we are selecting the intro, followed by, right? So you want to insert another one straight afterwards, followed by body, and then followed by outro, or whatever you call it, right? Hang on. And then insert outro. All right. And then once you're done, click add block. Oh, sorry. You want to add them together, not in two separate blocks, right? Let's try again. Intro, click insert, body, click insert, outro. Okay. So this is now going as one message, right? So don't have these separate. Just remember, intro is really literally, hey, first name, right? So when you put all these together, that basically means this forms the entire message, but we are just taking um, variations from intro, variations from body, variation from outro, and that forms your message, right? Now, you can see why we are doing this because let's say, for example, we have three variations, and then we have another three variations, and then we have another three variations. You can see this equals, so 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27, right? So that means there is 27 possible ways in which this message can be sent out, right? That is huge, right? That is absolutely huge. Because let's say when you're sending this manually, okay, when you're sending this manually, most likely you probably only have one, maybe two variations. And then you're sending out to like 100 people. Now that is going to get you banned, right? When you're automating this, because it's a system that is doing kind of like a spin text, right? So it's taking a variation from one of these segments and then putting them all together in like a spin text type of setup. So you can see just three variations of each. You have 27 combinations. Now to Facebook, that means every single message is now different, right? Not only that, you are sending one every 5 or 10 minutes. And that is very, very normal human behavior, right? To Facebook, that is not spamming, right? That is not spamming. This is a safeguard in place so that you don't get caught out with what you're currently doing manually, right? So, anyway, guys, hopefully this has been helpful. I will see you in the next training where we will go through high level. We'll go through some other advanced features that you could be using in client CRM. All right, I'll speak to you soon.